So it's important for me to come up and introduce this panel. But first, a very, very special guest that we have here with us today. Over the last 2 days, we've had a lot of themes, right? AI, robotics. We heard a panel on security and resiliency. But there's another theme that I hope you find throughout Emerge, and that's family. Quite literally, Emerge and the Emerge community is family to us. And it is also, the vision was built by my father, and now I'm part of the team too. But there's one family member that hasn't been on this stage yet that is the real rock star in the family, and that has taught me a lot about confidence on stage, seeing him play on stages across the world. And it's very exciting to be able to introduce my big brother, Manny Medina Jr., to the stage. Woo! But you need to dance. This is like the entrances are dance entrances.
What's up, Mel?
What's up? So fun to have him here. He's based in Nashville, but Miami is home for him. And so continuing on the theme of family, especially with this next panel, the moderator of the panel was one of the first phone calls that my father made years ago about Emerge. And that was to a renowned journalist, award-winning journalist, and her name is Jane Wooldridge, and she is family to Emerge. Jane, please come on out. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of family, I mean, I'm in music, but I always say Melissa's the real rock star of the family. I'm super impressed and proud. But this next speaker I've been a fan of for a long time, and I didn't realize until today that our fathers are friends, and that he's also a Cuban from Miami, so that basically makes us cousins.
Yeah, that's right. 1 degree of separation here.
But fantastic writer, director, producer. You know him from such things as Mitchell's vs. Machines, which is awesome, Lego Movie, which is awesome, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is a freaking masterpiece. But my pleasure and honor to introduce Phil Lord.
Yes.
Hi, how's it going? Oh my God.
I know.
I'm amplified.
You are amplified. A man probably who needs no amplification.
No, I've got I project well.
Okay. So from the 305 to the big screen. Now, I have just discovered that you grew up 3 blocks from my house, but you grew up in Coconut Grove.
Facts.
And so how was, and then just to give people the trajectory, if they don't know it, you grew up in the 305 in the Grove, went to Dartmouth, hooked up with your business partner of forever at Dartmouth, and away you guys ended up in LA. So what was it like for you growing up here? Did you know you wanted to be in film, or was that not on your radar?
I used to open the Miami Herald and go straight to the movie pages.
Good, good.
And look at all the advertisements. And one time there was I mean, it must have cost $50. It was an ad this big. And it was for an animation festival. And I went to what is now called the Cosford Cinema.
Yep.
And sat with like 20 other dorks and watched this and watched animated short films from around the world. And
how old were you then?
I don't know, Dad took me, my dad is here. Dad took me, I must have been 12.
Okay.
That was the year I saw a bunch of dirty cartoons from Europe.
Right, back when R-rated used to be, or X-rated used to be a cartoon.
Right,
I remember that.
The Simpsons. And Dad gave me my first Frank Zappa album.
Oh.
So it was a formative period. And then when I went to college, I met my writing, producing, directing partner, Chris Miller. We enrolled in an animation class together, and Our professor was a guy who had helped shepherd a lot of those European short films into the United States. He even smuggled one out of Poland.
Okay, that sounds like a great story.
And so that was our diet, was just art films.
Okay. So how did you guys end up going to LA? Because it's not so straightforward.
No, Dartmouth is not a pipeline to Hollywood.
I don't know why.
Well, fun fact, Chris Meledandri, who runs Illumination, that just had the biggest animated feature opening of all time, he's a Dartmouth guy. There's actually like quite a bit of like Dartmouth folks in LA. We moved, there was a comical misunderstanding.
Okay.
And Chris got a call. Jake Tapper went to Dartmouth, the CNN journalist. He wrote an article about Chris in a Dartmouth like development magazine that they send to alums to get money.
Yeah.
That one of those alums was the son of Michael Eisner.
Okay. And
by the time the game of telephone ended, we got a call in our dorm room going, do you want us to fly you to Los Angeles? And
that sounds like just such
so dumb and useless if you want to.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And then
wonderful moment though.
Chris made two big mistakes. He said, I have midterms, so can it wait until the summer? And then he said, can I bring my friend?
That was a great, I'm not sure that was a mistake. He's not thinking it was
There's
a mistake.
no way to know.
Okay, well, it sounds like that it was a good move there. But then what happened once you got there, and I look at the trajectory of your career, it reminds me of the trajectory of the career of almost every entrepreneur I know, which is there are things that happen that you don't expect that are really good, and there are things that happen that aren't as promising as you'd hoped. And how do you navigate that roller coaster? It's got to be super intense in LA.
It certainly is. When you look back on it, most people don't remember your horrible failures.
That's a good thing for so most of us.
And so it looks like a string of successes, but it really is a lot of up and down. We have one of our mentors is this guy, Bill Lawrence, who's exec producer of Ted Lasso.
Okay.
And he gave us one of our first breaks and showed us the ropes. And he said, look, your career is going to do this. It's going to be like a sine curve. And he's like, when I'm up here, he's like, I just try to remember that I'm supposed to be in the middle. So when I'm like really low and things aren't going great, I know I'm going to regress to the mean. And when I'm really up top, I try not to get cocky because I know I'm headed down.
That is actually great advice. And I think, when we think about what's happened in the tech community, in entrepreneurship in the last little minute, a year ago, we were all talking crypto like mad. Then crypto tanked. Now it's on its way back up a little bit. This town is a town that changes pretty rapidly. Has that advice helped you stay the course, or do you have any better advice for people who are in roller coaster universes?
I mean, it hasn't helped me.
Okay.
I still get really low, but I try to remember my favorite artists are prolific, and that we're here to swing the bat. Okay. I watch a lot of basketball.
Okay.
Like an amazing hit percentage of shots is like 50%. Mm-hmm. That's like the best shooter in basketball.
Right.
Right? So you try to remember like you're supposed to miss some.
Okay.
That's like how it works. And if you're thinking about that, and like I grew up in writers' rooms, so when you're sitting in the writers' room like pitching jokes, mm-hmm. it's not an efficient process. It's a messy process. You're supposed to 90% of the things you talk about, like they don't make it onto the page. And that's all right.
Okay.
It's a very low yield enterprise.
Well, that's actually very encouraging, I think, because we are all kind of programmed in this universe to think, oh, everything's going to be a win. And the reality is, you know, as my mother used to say, you have to kiss a lot of toads before you hit a prince.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think especially these days, we have to be mindful not to mistake the narrative for the work, right?
Great.
Because we can often, we can instead become advertisements for ourselves and be preoccupied with the public presenting part of it, especially because like that public presenting part of yourself, that brand, can be quite valuable, but it's only valuable in aggregate over time, over a long period of sustained success. And that success is about making mid-game adjustments. It's about like falling down 7, standing up 8. You know, it's not about just hitting 100% wins.
I think that's so valuable for us all to remember, because I haven't met the person who had the perfect life. So, but it's always nice to know it's not only you who are the one that has to go through the slog. Let's talk about some of the slog, some of the work you've done. Now, you have a really interesting body of work because you started in animation, that you dealt with live human beings, my word. And I want to know, what's the hardest part of making a film come to life? Because I suspect it's not any of the things that I would think it is. So what is it?
I mean, the hardest part is the most wonderful part, which is that you're looking for little moments of magic. So if you're on a set with all these great crew members and actors and, you know, my directing partner, you're hoping that something unexpected happens. You're just trying to create the conditions, the process that will maybe yield that. You're panning for gold, and you're fishing. You're like hoping you're like working the right weed line or whatever. And so it's really hard to generate those moments. When they happen, everybody knows it. Everyone on set shuts up. We're all paying attention. You can see it in the dailies. And if you can bank 1 or 2 of those moments a day over the course of a 50-day shoot, like that's 100 moments that are going to make it onto the screen, and that's a movie.
Okay.
Right? And so you're doing that so I keep talking about process, but that's what happens on an animated movie also. It just happens in slow motion. So you're trying to find something that just like gets everybody's attention right away. And you might need 10 attempts at that shot to like find that one little piece of detail of how that person moves that makes you pay attention.
Okay, dig in a little bit on the animated side, because I can understand how humans, you know, eventually magic happens when you're lucky. How does that work with animation, and how much of that is related to the artistry, the artistic, the technology? Put that together for us.
So the computer, right? So Spider-Verse, the Lego movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, they're all computer-assisted films. The technology is just a paintbrush. All it is like, and a paintbrush is like a stick that amplifies the movements of your wrist and fingers. That's all it's supposed to do.
Okay.
It just makes the human expression louder. And so a computer and a bunch of software and all these great technicians, all that is to try to get one artist's weird idea onto the screen, right? And at the end of the day, with all of that technology, it's Spider-Verse, this new Spider-Verse, it's 1,000 artists that are making that movie. And every shot, every moment boils down to one animator, to one lighting artist who's spending their week thinking about how someone would say that line, or responding to the voice performance of an actor, and that idiosyncratic thing that they did on the 5th take when they like went up on a line and kind of laughed, and we were like, oh, that's really cool in the edit bay, and maybe an animator could turn that into something that has life in it. So one of the like catchphrases in animation is, animation is the illusion of life.
Okay.
But I don't see it that way. I don't think that life is an illusion. Like, to be a great filmmaker or a great animator, you have to believe, you have to have a big enough imagination to see and witness the life that is happening in an inanimate object or between the lines of an actor's performance. You have to help the audience imagine that there is life in that moment.
So which is harder? Is it the live human scenario or is it the animated scenario?
To me, they're the same, because you're just trying to activate another person's creativity, right? And highlight it. So the crazy thing is like Jonah Hill, like thinking of a joke in 1 second, right? That takes nothing for him. He does that like breathing, he's been doing it his whole life. There are 100 other people with their attention focused, with lights and cameras and trucks just to capture that one little moment. That's a big pain in the neck.
I think when we look at films as a film watcher, I can't really imagine all those people standing. I mean, it seems so natural, which is a great performance, but it is a performance. You've got a grillion people standing around poking their finger at you. It's easy to forget. Filmmaking is a physical act, even when you're doing it with a Cintiq and looking at a screen. You know, that's an animator like looking in the mirror, going like, huh. Performing. You know, and all the trucks and dollies and cranes and rigging, like that's physical. That's like people wearing like athletic shoes all day, 12 hours a day to like make that happen. And the funniest thing about it is it's all there just to like get a weird joke on screen. And it reminds me, the thing that I marvel at when I'm there is like, oh, this joke is so important that we're gonna spend all this money to record it and make it sound perfect. Like, what is it about that's so important to human beings that we're willing to spend this much capital to like capture it? So what do you think that the answer to that question is? Why do you think we respond so deeply to film?
I just think we can easily forget that the creative acts are so they are so endemic to who we are.
Okay.
That is what separates us from like the stones and rocks and lizards. Not birds. Birds are very creative.
Dogs are really creative.
Dogs can be creative.
Okay.
But they're really just trying to trick us into feeding.
I know that is accurate because I have them at my house.
But it's really important to who we are, how we relate to one another, how we socialize, how we, generate status. It's like mission critical for human beings.
So tell us of your body of work. Pick out a film that was for you a triumph, whether it was hard to do and it came out at the end, or it was fun to do. What makes something fun for you?
First of all, I can't watch anything that I've made.
Okay.
Once it's done, it's there, and my premiere trick is the lights go down, and then I sneak out, and I go have a cheeseburger, and I come back when the credits roll.
Okay. What kind of cheeseburger?
It depends where the premiere is.
Okay.
If it's in Westwood, there's an In-N-Out around the back corner. It depends on the location, but for me, it's just about if we're mixing the next Spider-Verse movie right now, and when you're on the mix stage, you can feel when you and the mixing team and the other producers, when you're in the pocket, when you're in a state of flow, everybody notices. all of your mirror neurons are firing, and we're all in it together. And you get the goosebumps, and everyone shuts up, and they put their phones down, and you just have attention. And I love that feeling.
So what film of yours today, okay, was the most fun for you? I realize the answer might be different tomorrow.
None of them are fun.
Okay.
They are so scary. The stakes are so high. But I would say that the movie we're making right now, Across the Spider-Verse, is really exciting to watch it come together.
Okay.
Because you're just seeing people take huge risks, try things that have never been tried before, and push the medium in directions that we don't always see, and like make a big Hollywood summer blockbuster art film.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Well, and that's a great thing to do. So, but you have a screening of this coming up like immediately.
Sunday, I have to fly back. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to show a bunch of folks,
and
see what they think.
Well, and tell us a little bit more about that process. I mean, okay, so you do a screening. My friend and I are in the audience. We
Right.
come back to you and we either go, loved this part, or hated this part, or what? I mean, do people really do that? What do you really do?
We pass out cards. First of all, you know, I'm in the theater. I know when it's landing. I can feel it. I can also feel it when like people are shifting in their seat. You can hear that. I can see when like kids want to go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, we lost them.
Yeah.
And you kind of know. So, but then you get a bunch of cards and there's a bunch of data, and it's like an art and a science. But really what you want to know is, when were you in the pocket? When were you engaged? When did you fall out of it?
Okay.
And people use that language pretty universally. It took me out of it. And what they mean is I was in a state of engagement and flow, and then I wasn't.
So what do you do when they say, you know, right about minute 43, I was out of here?
Then we go like, I don't know what the matter is. Is it the mix? Is it the animation? Is it the sound? Like, is it just a bad joke? Like, I can't tell. Are they tired? Did I tire them out 5 minutes ago and now they don't have any attention span left?
Okay.
And so we just try to guess.
And then how many times do you go back to another audience and rescreen? Depends.
In an animated movie, it might be like 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
By the time you're done.
So you get some opportunity to do refinement.
Yeah.
Sort of not like Snakes on a Plane.
No, but believe it or not, I'm sure Snakes on a Plane had many previews.
Yeah. Well, it did online anyway.
Yes.
It didn't do so well in the theater. Talk to us more about the intersection between your work and technology, and where you think AI is going to take us. I mean, I feel like last year we were talking about crypto and AI wasn't on the schedule.
Yeah.
This year it's all about AI. What's that going to mean to films like the ones you make?
I mean, I think I feel the same way that I've always felt, which is I just need to be like a few months smarter than a computer.
Okay.
And I can stay employed.
Okay.
And AI, like everything else, is a tool, is an expressive tool. And without us, it's like meaningless. Because it's based on human work and human writing, right? So, like, something I think about a lot is like, oh, if we don't keep making up new things, the poor computers, they will have nothing to emulate.
Okay.
They'll be lost without us.
Well, let's think about this another way, though. There's been a lot of coverage lately, a lot of conversation about, is the computer, really creating false narratives when it combines work? Is it abrogating copyright because a human actually did this and suddenly it's combined with a bunch of other humans' work and nobody has a copyright to it? Where are those, do any of those things keep you up at night? And what do you think about them, even if they don't keep you up at night?
Well, in terms of like what we do, I just think it raises the bar that you have to clear. right? You can't be generic. You have to think of something that hasn't been thought of before, or you have to do something in a way that's unexpected. That's what the audience want. That's what they're coming to the movies for.
So how do you do that?
To me, that's just encouraging.
So where's your inspiration? How do you figure out something unexpected, or something that hasn't been done quite that way before?
In a funny way, like the fact that like if you're like, I watch a lot of basketball.
Okay, and who's your favorite team? Let's get real here. Who's your favorite team?
Heat, Clippers, tie.
Okay, Heat was first. You're good.
Okay. The Heat have rings. After every game, there is an article that is written.
Yep.
Right, and that article probably there are probably versions of that article that are written by AI at this point.
Actually not, although it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming, but believe me, people still sit there and do this.
But when somebody wrote that with personality.
Yep.
And when they do, you pay attention and you remember it. When there's a running commentary on every game, when that commentator says something unexpected, it brings that moment to life. So to me, the fact that the playing field might be covered with lots of common and everyday and AI generated material, all that does is all right, great. That sets the level. That helps me. That helps me know what not to do.
Okay.
It gives me a bar to clear. So in a funny way, and it's also a tool for generating material quickly. I talked to a writer who said, I iterated on ChatGPT for a script. I did it 50 times until it finally gave me something that I could use. And then I rewrote it. Okay. And it made me fast. That's what they said.
Well, and
you still need that person interpreting it.
So that's a great example of how one person has used this to iterate. And I have to say, some days it's like digging through a thesaurus and thinking word hippo was gonna, produce the word for me. And so I'm on board with this thought generation process. Have you actually used AI yet yourself?
No, except when I text my parents.
Aha, and it misspells everything.
I've never been a worse speller than when my phone tried to help me spell.
Yeah, I used to think that we were all safe forever if Siri was the role model, but apparently we've gone past the Siri stage.
I used to worry that computers were going to get smarter than us, but now I worry that they're going to make us dumber than them.
Okay.
We're going to be worse spellers. And to me, that is the thing to be mindful of. That we cannot outsource the thing that we do better than any other animal on the planet, which is think of stuff. We can't outsource that.
No, I don't suppose we can, and that's really interesting because there is so much talk everywhere, and I think there is a lot of fear that AI is going to be better than we are.
I don't think so. It's meant to be supportive, right? Because it's the thing that fuels it is us. So at the end of the day, I resist the idea that it's going to control us.
Okay.
I believe that we control it.
Okay.
And we control it by trying to imagine the world that we want, as opposed to asking someone else or a government or an algorithm what we want.
Okay. So in our last moment here, have you started thinking about what comes after the Spider-Verse?
A nap.
A nap. How long is that nap going to last?
It could be forever. I don't know. No, we have. We're really busy. I am part of a really fun group of people. There's almost 20 of us now at Lord Miller. We have 3 movies that are coming out this year, 3 seasons of television. We have a lot of great stuff on the way, and the lovely thing is I really like who I work with, and so that I'm really excited to see what the next few years bring.
Well, terrific. Well, so are the rest of us. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.